And I'd like to welcome you all to our Cyber Senior session for today, where Macaulay will be presenting ebook and audiobook apps for us today. And again, thanks so much for attending our session. I'm going to go ahead and read our disclaimer before we get started. So give me 1 second to pull that up, please. Thank you so much. The WildTech DC Senior Digital Equity Program, its owners and presenters offer technical assistance, virtual health, well-being information designed for educational purposes only. You should not rely on the information, any apps or topics made by WildTech, including but not limited to mobile device applications and any social media pages maintained by WildTech, its owners or presenters as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or legal advice. Thanks so much for letting me read the disclaimer. If you cannot see me, hear me, or see the screen, please let me know in the chat. I would appreciate that. Let's make sure to keep our TVs and cell phones in mind. And as always, make sure you take notes and or screenshots so you could review the information for later on if you would like. Macaulay, if you could introduce yourself and your topic for today. Thank you so much for coming on, and I really look forward to our session, and make sure you all stay on for our poll for today. But thank you so much, Macaulay.
Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Macaulay. For those of you I don't know, hi. For those of you I do, nice to see you again. Today, I'm going to be talking about ebooks and audiobook apps that you can use on your devices. So with that said, I'll jump right in. We're going to do a slide deck presentation, and then I'm going to do a bit of a live demonstration. At the end, I'll take live questions if you have any. So I'll have to share my screen here. Alrighty. And throughout, if I am speaking too fast or mumbling, which I sometimes have a tendency to do not feel shy. Let me know in the chat. I want to make sure that you can hear me clearly and understand what I'm saying. So please let me know. All right. We have a bit of a disclaimer as well. Presentations we deliver are for educational purposes only and should not replace independent professional judgment. The views expressed are those of individual participants and do not necessarily represent Cyber Seniors. Cyber Seniors does not endorse or assume responsibility for the accuracy or completeness of the information. And please note that the session is recorded. All right, so what we're going to cover today. So we are going to be talking about apps and websites that you can use for accessing ebooks and audiobooks online. And we're going to talk a bit about the general layout and controls of these e-reading applications. Thankfully, they all have pretty similar formats. So I'm going to be showing you one in live demonstration today. I'm going to be showing you the Libby app, which I'll talk a bit more about. But basically, once you understand how to use one of them, the other ones should be pretty similar. They don't have too different of layouts, so you should be able to get the hang of using any of them if you just know how to use one of them. So, first of all, what are some of the advantages of using ebooks? So ebooks, right, are electronic books. They're books that we can read on our devices, so our phone or tablet, or computer. And they're great for a lot of reasons. One, they're accessible anywhere, right? So it doesn't matter what device I have. You know, if I just have my phone on me, or if I just have my tablet on me, I'm able to access these books from anywhere. As long as I have my device, I can access a book. Another advantage is that there's adjustable text sizes. So we can change the size of our text to be smaller or larger, right? We can't do that with a real book. The text size is what it is on the page. With an ebook, we have the opportunity to adjust those text sizes so they can be easier to read. We can also do things like adjust brightness on our devices, which is, again, great for readability. Other benefits include that it keeps your page. So, you know, the days of having to earmark your page or putting a bookmark in there that inevitably, you know, falls out when we lose our page. We don't need to do that. When we're reading ebooks, it automatically keeps our place in the book, and that can be really convenient as well. Also, it's easy to turn pages. We don't have to worry about pages getting stuck together or them being hard to turn. Flipping the page is as simple as swiping on our screen. There's also things like read aloud features. So we don't just have to read, we can also have the text read aloud to us, which can help with our reading, which can help with the actual intake of the information we're reading, which is great. There are some environmental potential benefits to it, right? We're not having actual pages. Everything is electronic. And then affordability is another thing, right? So we can get access to sometimes cheaper versions of books. So if we do end up buying a book, generally an ebook version will be cheaper than a real book. We also have access to a lot of free books and library books. And my favorite feature of being able to use ebooks is that we can search for words or phrases. So there's a search feature where you can search through the book. So say there's a book that you've read a million times and there's a particular passage that you love, but you don't know necessarily where it is in the book and you just want to be able to find it. You can search for some of the words that are in, say, that passage and find it really quickly. Or if you want to refer back to a certain part of the book, that can be made really easy by these search features. So I love that. And another part of being able to do this is that you can often get ready definitions for words. So if you're reading a book and a word comes up that you're not so familiar with, you can usually tap on the word or highlight it and be able to quickly search up a definition of that word. So again, that I love when I'm reading ebooks. That being said, there are disadvantages to ebooks, as there are disadvantages to everything. So some books are unavailable, depending especially on which app or website you're using. There might be unavailability of certain books, so it's something to be aware of. Books can't be sold or given away. So if you really loved a book and you want to encourage a friend or family member to read it as well, can't really give it away to them like you could a real book. And that being said, it sort of lacks the nostalgia of having a paper book, right? Having your little notes and the wear and tear of a real book. We lose that a bit, which again is a difficult thing to do. I tend to use some ebooks and some real books depending on them. If there's a book I really love, sometimes I'll end up buying the paper copy of it if I know I'm going to return to it. But it is a great way to get more books and have them take up less space. And another disadvantage is that authors can edit ebooks after publication. So if there has been a reprinting of a book or additions made to a book or changes made, they can be made and then updated. So this might be an advantage or disadvantage. You'll know that you're always getting the most up-to-date version of any given book, but it also means that things can be adjusted or changed. They're not set in stone. They're not printed on paper. So there's always the ability to change or edit them. All right. That being said, what are some of the e-reading applications we can use to read books on our devices? So first of all, there's Apple Books. So on iPads, Mac computers, and iPhones, we have Apple Books, which is a built-in app on your device. If you have one of these devices, as you do, you have the Apple Books app on there already. You don't have to download it. You have it already. There is the Kindle Book app, which is an app store, a book app owned by Amazon. It is also a book app that goes hand in hand with their Kindle e-readers, which I have one of. Then there's the Libby app. Libby app is a free library app. It connects to your local library, so it'll connect to the DC library, and you can use it to borrow and audiobooks from the library for free. And then there's the Google Play Store. So, if you do happen to have like an Android phone or tablet as well, that is the app store. That is a store for books on those devices, the built-in one. So Apple Books, this, like I said, comes pre-installed on all Apple devices. It's not available on Android devices. So if you're in the situation where you say have your iPad, but then your phone is an Android device, and you want to be able to move books back and forth, you won't be able to do this using the Apple Bookstore because it is only available on Apple devices. So that's one thing to consider here. There are free books available on Apple Books. Most of these will be things that are, out of that are in the, what's it called? That are free. So they'll be like older books, things like Shakespeare plays, and older prints that can be downloaded for free. So there are some free books that you can get. You can enable voiceover, but it's not built into the app, so you can have it read the book pages using the Apple voiceover setting. but it's not built into the app, so it can be a bit iffy at times, though it should work decently well. So you should be able to get your device to read these books aloud. But audiobooks are going to be sold separately on this. There are about 5 million books available for download here. So there's tons of books, lots of options. You won't be, you know, out of options. You're never going to get through all of them. So there's tons to be found there. That being said, like I said, there are some free books, but mostly when we're talking about Apple books, we're talking about buying books. I don't think that they have an option to rent books either. Generally, you're just buying books straight up. Now, Google Play Books is Google's equivalent to Apple Books. It's available on Androids only. It's not available on Apple devices. So again, the same issue will exist if you have an Android phone and then you have the iPad. These things won't be convertible back and forth. So that is a limitation of this app. There are, again, many free books, same as with Apple. It does come with book narration and it can read books out loud. So that is built into the app, which is a nice feature. It's not sort of something that you have to kind of finagle to be able to do. It is built in. And much like Apple, there's about over 5 million books available for download on Google Play Books. Now, Kindle Books, this is the app from Amazon. It is available on Apple and Android devices. So if you're going to be buying ebooks to keep, and you have an Android phone and your iPad, and you want to be able to read them on both devices, this would be my suggestion of what to use, because you will be able to use it on any device. If you have the Kindle app, you can read books on your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, and if you have a Kindle e-reader, you can also transfer it to that. So it is completely transferable to any e-reading enabled device you have, which is a fantastic thing about this app. Again, they have many free books. There are many books that have the option to have you listen to narration. It's not all of the books, but it is many of them. And there are over 6 million books available for download. So it is a bit of a bigger library by about 1 million, if that's a bit. I think that's a lot, actually. Now, on this same vein, we have Audible, which is an audiobook company. And Audible is owned by Amazon. So Audible and Kindle can sometimes go hand in hand because they're both Amazon-owned companies. And they're available on Apple and Android devices. So again, these can go back and forth. You can transfer these back and forth. You can get a subscription to Audible. So I think you can buy titles straight up, but there's also a subscription service. And I think that's actually also available on Kindle, or it might be mixed into here, but there's a subscription option available. So you can pay a flat fee to get a certain amount of books a month, which some people like. If you are a steady reader, someone who reads, a book a month, this is a good option for you because it can cut down on costs if you're buying books. So 1 audiobook per month. And then there tends to be 1 extra within a recommended selection of books. So they'll have like a list where you can choose an extra from. You can get access to a lot of deals and discounts on books. And there are over 200,000 audiobooks available for download. And again, this is, if you have the Kindle app and this, it can be easy to switch between listening and reading the book with the Kindle. So another good option. That being said, my favorite app to use is the Libby app. This is the app that connects to your local library and allows you to borrow audio and ebooks. So it's going to function a lot like those other apps, but you won't be buying books. You'll just be borrowing them. So you can set up a free account. And again, this is available for download across devices. So you can download on any smartphone or tablet, and you can also use this on a computer. So it's accessible on any device you might be using and you might have. The other thing that's really nice about Libby is that it does have the capacity to connect to the Kindle app. So if you have a library book you've borrowed, and if you happen to have a Kindle e-reader like I have, you can actually get your library books on your e-reader. So they are transferable to those devices as well, just by borrowing books. So it's a really awesome app with great built-in features. Now, the one thing I will say, and we'll go over it, but is a bit of a downfall of Libby is it's the library, right? So you being able to get and borrow books is up to the amount they have on the shelf. Obviously, it's a digital version, so there's not actually a limit, but they have to set limits on how many they can borrow out a month or at a time. That's the sort of deal they have in terms of making them available in ebook form. So there will be times if a book is really popular, you'll have to put a hold on it and wait for it to become available, and you might not be able to borrow it right away. So that is one thing to consider, and we'll look at what that looks like on the app when we walk through it. Now, when it comes to using any of these, as I said, if you have an iPad or an iPhone, you'll have the Apple Book app already downloaded. If you have an Android device, you'll have the Google Bookstore already downloaded, so you don't have to worry about downloading those. But if you did want to use Kindle or you wanted to use the Libby app, you will have to download them from the App Store. We can go over at the end how to download apps if anyone needs a refresher, but I'm sure we've gone through this before, but you'll just go to the App Store. You can use the search bar to search for Libby or Kindle, and you should be able to find them there. When you're looking for them, again, this is the icon for the Libby app. This is the icon for the Kindle app. So you want to make sure you're looking out for the correct sort of icon when you're downloading it. Make sure you have the right one. But once we have our app, we have some things that are general layout features that we'll see across the board. Again, we'll see some differences here, but generally the layout is as such. So on an e-reader, you'll have your app, and at the bottom of the page, as you might have seen on a bunch of other apps before, you'll have a sort of navigation bar, right? The bottom of the screen. Generally, you'll have an area to be able to search for books. So, right, you'll have an icon like the magnifying glass, which allows you to search for titles. You might have an area that says reading now. So this may include any books you're currently reading, right, that you're in the middle of. And then you might have a section that says something like library. So this will have any of the books you've borrowed or already downloaded on the app. So the bottom of the page is sort of how you'll navigate around the app to different sections of your library, so to speak. In the library or in the My Book section that you'll have, again, this will contain any books that you own or have borrowed. Once you go into the section, you'll be able to click into any book that you have available to you. And when you open that book, navigating through the book is as simple as swiping in the direction you'd like to turn the page. So you use the touch screen capabilities of your device to turn the page just by swiping across the screen. You also will often have this bar at the bottom, and again, I'll show this in real life, where you can go through a lot of pages at once. So if you're trying to skip forward to a certain section of the book, you can really easily do that. And then again, there should be also a search feature when you're within the book to be able to search for words, phrases that you might want to find in the book. When you want to get a new book, you're going to want to use the search feature to search for titles. Now, generally in any sort of these bookstores, there'll be some sort of like homepage that will promote or push maybe popular titles or titles that may be in theme with some sort of current holiday, right? So say like during Black History Month, you may have a lot of titles relating to Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, right? You'll have a ton of titles on that theme. So they'll tend to promote books that are either relevant to the time, a certain holiday, or just things that are popular. But if you don't find what you're looking for in sort of those promoted sections, that's when you're going to use the search feature to search for titles that you want. So you can use the search bar. You can generally use it to search for authors, for titles of books, and even for genres or types of books you're looking for. So you don't have to limit yourself to knowing exactly what you want to find. You should be able to use it to explore different titles and themes that you may be interested in reading about. Now, once you find a book you like, you can always click into it. First, I'll say So you can tap on the book's cover to see a summary, and you can also read reviews from buyers to make sure you're getting the right title. Oftentimes, you should also be able to download a sample. This is generally about the first 10 or so pages of the book. If it's an audio book, it will give you the first 3 to 4 minutes of the audio recording so that you can hear or read the book to see if you like it. Generally with reading a book, this is not so helpful, I find, because they don't really give you enough to get much. But with the audiobooks, I think this is really helpful because, if you start listening to it and you hate the person's voice, you don't want to listen to them for 4 hours straight or 8 hours straight, however long an audiobook is. So it's a really helpful tool. So know that you can always listen or read a sample with these. Once you do decide on a book that you want to get, you'll be able to download it or borrow it. Usually there'll be a button that says something like get, buy. If it's a buying situation, it should also say its price next to it. There's not a set price across platforms or across books. There'll be a different price for every book that you get. So note that. If you're buying a book, you'll also get asked to confirm before downloading any books and before you are charged. Now, again, another thing I said before that's great about these e-readers is sort of the accessibility settings of them. So there's plenty of ease of use settings when it comes to these apps, right? So you can do things like change the text size. You can even change the font. If you find that the font that they're using is not particularly easy for you to read, you're able to change it. And sometimes you can also change the text and background color. So if you'd prefer reading in a sort of night mode, so where the background is black and the text is more more white, so that it's less harsh on the eyes. If you're reading at night, you can do that. And you can change the text size as well. But generally, when you're looking for these settings, these are the two sort of icons you'll be looking for. Either a gear-shaped icon, which we should know is, the usual icon we're looking for when we're looking for settings. But often these sort of text or font changes will be located under a button that looks like this. It's two capital A's of different size. I sometimes get confused when I'm looking for these settings, and I don't always remember that this is the button I'm looking for to change font sizes. So just a heads up that this is a icon that is particular to audiobook apps that you might see. And that's how you can change text sizes and stuff like that. All right, we're not done yet. So now I'm going to jump into looking at a version of this. So I'm going to be doing this on my computer. However, worry not. This looks very similar on any device. So I'm looking at it on my computer, but it actually is the exact same format you're going to see if you download the Libby app on your iPad or phone. I made sure of that. So here we are. So when you first go to the Libby app or download the app, this is the first page you're going to see. You're going to open it up and it's going to say, welcome. Do you have a library card? So if you don't have a library card, you can click not yet. It will generally guide you to how you can apply for an e-library card or give you instructions on where you can get one. For our example, we're going to assume that you already have a library card. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, yes, I have a library card. The next thing it's going to ask you is to find the library that you have a library card with. So you can use guess your library, which means it will use your location to guess which library you're a part of. If you don't want to share your location with the app, you can actually just click search for a library. This is what I always tend to do. So you'll click search for a library. And then you can put in the search your city. So if you were searching for yourself, you would put in BC or District of Columbia and you could find it that way. And then you'll just click on it. I'm in Toronto, so I will be using my library. So I'm going to search for Toronto and I'll get my Toronto Public Library. Now, once I click on the library, that is my home library, it will say, I would like a card. So again, if you don't have a card, you can go do that from here. I do have a card, so I'm just going to say sign in with my card. It's going to ask me to input my library card number. So if you have a physical library card, you're going to want to, that's my Costco card. You're going to want to pull it out and then put in the number. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'll put in my library card number. I think that's right. So double check it after you put it in. Yeah, that looks right. And you'll click next. Not all libraries do this. Some libraries have like pins as well associated with your library card. So if you have a pin, you're going to want to put it in. So I'll put it in and I'll click sign in. Give it a moment and I'm signed in. So we can see now I have my library card connected on my device and I can start using it. So as simple as that, my account is set up on here. So great, I have that set up. So once I'm in here, as I said, how we're going to navigate through a lot of these apps is through this navigation bar at the bottom. So you should see at the bottom of my page, I have all these icons. The one unfortunate thing about Libby is that they don't use words. They just use icons to describe different parts of the app. So you'll just have to get familiar with what each one of these sort of means. So the first one is over here is this one of a building. This is the library like home page, right? So this is where you'll see all of the sort of main information from the library. So what you'll tend to see here is you'll see maybe your library card. You can see your amount of loans. So I don't have any loans out right now. I have 0 of 30. I'm allowed to have 30 at a time. I have 1 of 15 holds on right now. So I do have a hold on a book that's not yet available. But if I scroll down, it's going to show, what books the library is promoting at any given time. So at my library right now, it's promoting Read the North, trying to get more people to read more Canadian books. So we have a bunch of books they're promoting here. And then we have some staff picks generally. So the DC Library, I know, also does this. They'll have their, monthly staff picks that they've put forward. And then they'll have different guides, things you can maybe look at to do it. So this is that sort of home page. But you can also generally look for, what's the newest book that they have? What are the most popular books they're looking at? So you can click on something like popular and see what other people are reading. And that's all under this library tab here. Now, say you're looking for a book that's not on this homepage and you want to search for a specific book. That is when you're going to use the search feature, right? So right over here, we have the magnifying glass. As we know, this always indicates search. So if you want to search for a book, you're going to click on the magnifying glass. You will be able to get a search bar, and then you click on it and you can search for books. You can filter your searches as well, right? So if you're looking for ebooks to read, you can click on ebooks. If you're looking for audiobooks, you can specify that you're looking for audiobooks or magazines. Or if you're only looking for titles that are currently available that you can download right on the spot that you won't have to put a hold on, you can also do that. But say I am looking for a book. Maybe I want to read, a Margaret Atwood book. I'll search for the author, right? So I can search for authors. I can also search for titles. So, right, if I'm looking for a title, I could put it in. You'll see what the difference is. Next to it, it should say title or author, but we'll go back. I'll just search Margaret Atwood. So if I search Margaret Atwood, I'll be able to see a bunch of titles by Margaret Atwood. I can see all of them here, right, as I scroll down. When you're searching through the catalog, you'll see some of them are more rectangles and some of them are squares, like here. If it's a rectangle, that is a book. If it's a square like this, and it has a time underneath it, that is an audiobook. So that's how you should be able to quickly tell which is a ebook versus an audiobook that you listen to. But next to any given one, we'll be able to click on a title, read its summary below. But we'll also be able to see if it's available right away. So this first one is a hold. So if I wanted to get it, I have to place a hold on it. But if it's available to download right away, like this book bundle, I could just click borrow. So we'll try both. I'm gonna click to borrow this book. I'm gonna be able to borrow it for 21 days. I'll click borrow. If I want to start reading it right away, I can go to my shelf and start reading it. If I want to keep looking for other books, I can click keep browsing. It'll take me straight back to the search I was just in. Say there's a book that I want to read, but it's not available right away. So say I want to read her newest book, The Testament. It's not available right now. I'm going to place a hold on it. When I do this, a long wait, I'll be able to see how long it's going to take for me to maybe get it. Generally, I find that this is an overestimate. You usually get it sooner than this. But it says there's 8 copies in use and there's 65 people waiting for it. So I'll place a hold. Once I place a hold, once it's available, it will automatically be put on my shelf. So I don't have to, go claim it or anything. It automatically loads it for me, which is great. But I, again, can keep browsing. Now, say I was looking through books and like I said, I wanted to read a sample or listen to a sample. You'll see that next to the place hold or borrow book button, there's always a read or play sample. So if I want to read a sample of a book, I'll just click read sample. What it will do is it will open the sample of the book. Again, this is giving me the first, I think, 14 pages, and I can start reading it. Now, when you're going through books, you'll just swipe. So you swipe your finger across the screen, and that's how you go through books. But I can see that I can look through, so long intro, look through this book that I have here. If I want to exit out, I can just click near the top of the screen, generally. And I can click back out to get out of it. That's how you can read a sample. Same goes for playing a sample. If I want to play a sample of an audiobook, I'll just click play sample. It opens it up like this.
Penguin Random House Canada presents Dearly.
And I can listen to it. Seems that Margaret Atwood is narrating her own book in this case. That's her voice. But I can listen to
Margaret Atwood.
Listen to the audio sample. Again, I find this really helpful for audiobooks because you never want to download an audiobook and you hate the person's voice and have to sit through it for hours. So good thing you can do there. So I borrowed some books. I placed some books on hold. If I've borrowed a book or placed a book on hold, I will be able to find them in my library or my stack. So this button here, where we have the stack of books, this is my shelf. This is where all of my borrowed books, all my books on hold will be found. So I can see when I click here, my recent loans, here's that book I borrowed. I can also see that I have some holds. So I can see that I have these books on hold. I can go back and read a sample. I can always manage my hold. So if I decide I want to be taken off the list, let the next person have their spot on my list, I can always click cancel hold. It will remove it from my hold. Or I can stay on and wait. Now, like I said, if I have a book that I want to read, I have this one, so I can do it. I can see when it's due. It's due in 20 days. I can also manage this loan, so I can always return it early. Or if I'm getting closer to the end of my loan period, if there's not a huge wait for it, I usually can also renew the loan. So if I need 10 more days to read it, I can often renew the loan. But if I want to read the book, I'll open it. So once we're in a book on here, we'll just get through to the actual book and past all the. All right, a lot of intro stuff here. This is acknowledgements. I think this is The Blind Assassin. This is my favorite book of all time. But anyway, I can go through and I can read the book. As you'll see, there's options here when I click at the top. This is where I can do some of the, changing. So this button here, this circle with the text, this allows me to change the view from a two page per screen view to a single page view. So you can actually view it as in a sort of wide screen. So you get this sort of look versus this, which is trying to replicate how you would actually see a book. I like this one better. I'm more used to it. Then you see that A, this is where you can change things like text scale. So you'll see I'll be able to make the text bigger or smaller, depending on what I prefer. If you want to go even bigger, you can click includes accessibility sizes and you can go even bigger. You can make the text really as big as you need. You'll also be able to change the lighting. So right now I'm on bright lighting, but I can also change it to sepia lighting. So you can see it makes a kind of brownish beige background, which might be easier on the eyes, or else a dark setting. So if you're reading at night, this is a great way to read it to not strain your eyes. I like the sepia setting, so I'll keep that. And then we can also choose from different fonts. So there's legible font, paperback font. There's also a font that if you're dyslexic, you can turn on that should be easier to read for those with dyslexia. And then there's a bunch of other fonts we can choose as well. So we can choose our fonts. We can choose the appearance of how we're reading. So all of those settings are available to sort of see what you read. As I said, there should also be a search bar here, right? So I can use this to search within the book. So if I want to search for a particular part of the book, I know there's a lot of mentions of news articles in this book. So I can search for all of these here. And if I find one that I like, I can click on it and it will take me directly to that part of the book. So I can do that. And then lastly up here, we'll see this. So here are this little bookmark. I can click on this and this allows me to bookmark a particular page. If I go through to a different part of the book, I can bookmark I'll just make a bunch of bookmarks throughout. And so then if I have a bunch of bookmarks, I can click here and I should be able to see all the bookmarks I left. Now, bookmarks in this context work a bit differently than bookmarking in a regular book. The app will always track where you are in the book, so you don't need to save your page. So when you're bookmarking on one of these apps, it's not to save your spot. It's just to mark a spot on the book that you might like to return to or that you wanted to revisit. So you can bookmark as many pages or areas of the book as you want. So if I were to be done reading for now, I could go back. And then you'll see if I open the book again, it will open directly to where I was. So you don't have to worry about saving your page. It does it for you. The other really nice thing about Libby is that say you borrowed the book and then the borrow lapsed and then you came back to it a year later. If you'd made any bookmarks during that time, when you borrow it again, all of that will be saved. So you'll be able to see those same bookmarks when you borrowed it a year from now. So it saves all that data, which is nice. So you get to save any sort of, highlights or things like that you've done. So that's great. So that's reading those books there. I'll try to see an example of an audiobook I can borrow. So we'll go with this audiobook so I can show you sort of the equivalent features on the audiobooks. So if I open this audiobook, pretty simple to play audiobooks. There's a big play button.
Penguin Random House
You can use this 15 forward or 15 backwards button to skip forward or backwards in a book. So, if you get distracted for a second, you want to go back 30 seconds because you missed something.
This has happened.
You can do that.
All the words.
So that feature is there. There are only a few settings here. So you can also set bookmarks on parts of the audiobook here. So you can go back to certain parts of it. So nice that you can set these bookmarks within the recording by using these buttons here. But you'll also see this little moon icon. This offers you the ability to change when it stops reading. So if you are someone who likes to listen to your book before you go to sleep, you can set a 15-minute timer, a 30-minute timer, or a custom timer to say that after 30 minutes, stop the book, right? So that if you're going to fall asleep, you don't miss too much of it. And you can just make sure that it will turn off automatically. So I can set a 10-minute timer and then press play. And then 10 minutes after that, it's going to pause the book and stop it for them. And then lastly, there's also this sort of speedometer you'll see here. You can click on this. This allows you to change the speed of the book. So you can either make it slower or you can make it faster. So say I wanted to read faster, I'll go to 1.5 speed.
Old or even scoundrel, plight, and
And it will make it read it faster. So if the person is a really slow reader, you can make it go faster if you want that as well. So some great settings there to be able to sort of specify your reading or listening experience. So that's that little shelf section of this here. You'll also have this little tag. You'll be able to create tags on certain titles as well. So if you're searching for books, you'll see that there's these tags here. I can click on this tag and I can create a tag. Show me how. You can name a tag, say like it's want to read, and I can do it, or maybe it's book club, and you can create it. Done. And now that's tagged as that. So when I go through here, I can see all my different tags that I have for books, which is just a way to organize things you've read. And then this center section here, these 3 lines, this is sort of your additional settings. You'll be able to see your libraries. If you are a member of more than one library, you can add more than one card. You can also come here to change your notification settings, your accessibility settings, and your language settings, anything like that. Or you can reset everything. Or there's options to contact your library if you're having issues with your library card. So all that is located here in your settings. But that is generally how you navigate this app and a lot of other ebook apps. I'll stop sharing my screen now and we'll take some questions. I know that there's been some stuff thing. So how do you change the audio voice? You can't change the reader. It is whoever recorded the audio book. So that's not possible. It's just a pre-recorded version of the book. However, there might be different versions of the audiobook with different readers that you can explore.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your presentation, Macaulay. It was I loved how you organized it, and thank you for going through with those steps and recognizing those different devices. Again, most of us that are on do have our iPads, but phones can definitely vary, and some of us may even be on a laptop. So I'm really appreciative of you showing those different platforms. The great thing is, especially with Libby, that's one of the apps that DC Public Library talks with us about as well. So hopefully some of you guys have learned even more. I really appreciate that overview. And I really love that the website and the apps look very similar. Like sometimes that's not always the case between apps.
Oh yeah, they're the exact same, which is really, like if I literally just made the screen a different size, it would be the exact same format as on your iPad. So you'll have the exact same experience.
Yeah, yeah. I even shared a picture of the homepage. So the only difference is it just says DC Public Library instead of Toronto.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So again, like that's the other nice thing about it. You're not going to get these differentiations, even if you have a different library card. You'll always see the same things.
All right, you guys. Well, again, I really appreciate Macaulay's session. Do you guys have any questions or any comments for Macaulay for her session today? But again, make sure you utilize Libby and some of these other apps. Libby is all completely free with your library card, which is great. And some of the other ones, like for Kindle, what do you think of Kindle and like Amazon Prime? I know Amazon Prime has a lot of benefits.
Yeah, so Kindle, Amazon Prime, Audible are all sort of connected because they're all owned by Amazon. And so you can get like subscription services there, and there are some free books that come with like if you have an Amazon Prime account already. So I always suggest like if you're gonna buy books, I tend to prefer Kindle and Amazon just because it is more accessible across devices. They also tend to have sometimes better sales or cheaper prices. But I also prefer because I actually have a Kindle reader, and so I can put any of those books on my reader here. So I like it, and again, it has that cross-device accessibility. Whereas with the Apple Store, it's only for Apple devices, and the Google Store, it's only for Android devices. So you can't switch back and forth if you have different devices.
Thank you so much for that, Macaulay. Again, any questions or any comments for the session today? Please raise your hand in Zoom. Any questions or any comments? And make sure you stay on for our poll, everyone. Okay, Anne, thank you so much. What would you like to share today?
I just wanted to tell you, sweetie, I got a Kindle
Yep.
last year for Christmas.
Yeah.
I am still trying to figure out how to do this. So you have given me a lot of insight. Thank you so much.
Yes, and if you have the Libby app, let me look at it. I know that because I've done this before, you can get library books on your Kindle. So you
Oh,
buy
okay.
them, but there's a way to get the books on your Kindle. I think it's when you're opening it. I haven't seen I don't see it on here, but generally when you first download the book, if you're doing it like on your phone or your iPad, you'll be like
Mhm.
open in, and there's usually an option that says like open in Kindle, and it will, like, if you click open in Kindle, you'll have to have the Kindle app, but it will go to the Kindle app. And then if you're signed into your Kindle account on the app, it will then also be available on your Kindle reader. So if you want to figure out how to do that better, you can always obviously call us and get one-on-one help. I'll put the phone number in the chat, but that is something that you should be able to do with the Libby app.
Okay, darling. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And good to see you again.
See you.
Thank you, Anne. Really
Mhm.
Our
appreciate it.
Kindle device is expensive. There's different ones in different price points. There are ones they're quite expensive. Like the cheaper ones fall around probably, I think, maybe the $100 mark. I can't see. I'm looking at it in Canadian prices on my end, so it's gonna be way more expensive on my end than your end. But I think they fall the one that I have is like the most basic one, and it works great. You don't really need anything else. And I think it's around that, maybe that $100 mark.
Yeah, 100, 200, just depends on the kind of Kindle that you'd like.
Yeah.
But definitely utilize the Kindle app on your iPads, you guys. I think that's a great way to take advantage if you don't want another device. But if you do, it's, that option is there. It's really what you guys prefer.
Yeah, and you can always take advantage of, there's always those Cyber Week deals on Amazon when they come up, where you can get better deals on the e-readers as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Macaulay, for answering those. I really appreciate it. Any other last comments or questions for today? All right. Well, what do you like most about the Libby app before we end for today, Macaulay? What do you like most?
I really I like to be able to change the fonts and the color. So that's really nice for me. I have a hard time focusing on text, so to be able to change that is really helpful for me being able to focus on the screen. Especially when we're reading on screens, it can be kind of tough. So having those options it can alleviate some of the strain that comes with reading off a screen generally. And that ability to move titles from my computer to my phone to my Kindle. It's really nice. So I can read it at home on my computer, and then if I'm on the subway, I can have it on my phone. Or if I bring my Kindle with me, I can read it there. So that's nice. Very mobile. Not light, and it's light, so that's good.
Well, thank you so much, Macaulay, for coming on. We hope you come on again for another Cyber Senior session with us. Make sure you all stay on for our poll. But let's say thank you so much to Macaulay for our session today, and make sure we review this session on our YouTube channel. Macaulay, if you could put the Cyber Seniors number for one-on-one help in the chat, folks can take a look at it while we do our poll. And thank you so much for coming on. Let's all say thank you to Macaulay and wish her a wonderful rest of her day.
Thank you,
Thank
dear.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Macaulay.
Yeah, I just
Thank
put the
you.
number in the chat, so you guys can write that down.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, Macaulay.
Yes.
Bye, Macaulay.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.